Hi, let's talk about the philosophy of unboxings and John Varvatos. Varvatos, whatever. There's a need for meaning for a human creature. This need has varied through the ages, but the one that we're most likely going to be familiar with is the need, or the perceived need, for stuff. And in order to get the stuff, we usually need to spend. So through a process of familiarization of an activity to fill a need, we've conflated the need for meaning to the activity of spending. Spending to get stuff. I probably can't do it as much justice as did the philosopher Jean Baudrillard in the work titled Simulacra and Simulation. So to make this extremely simple, media and technology have severely distorted our perceptions of reality, so much so that we can't separate reality from unreality. So we just float around in a state where both are blurred into one hyper-reality. And in the case of unboxings, the activity of spending, acquiring, and unboxing is highly desirable because it suspends the product in this hyper-reality, like the one that's seen in the marketing. What's in the box is really not that important because once this becomes just another product, it loses the luster of its hyper-reality and becomes real. Too real, as a matter of fact, and reality is not where most of us want to be, mentally. So, unboxings are therapeutic. They soothe our reality by keeping us in that hyper-real state and perpetuating the delusion that we can find meaning via the activity of spending. So please, take the blue pill and watch me unbox this trio of John Varvatos fragrances. Here we go. John Varvatos, whatever you want to call him. The brand. I don't have any John Varvatos fragrances. I don't think I've smelled anything except for John Varvatos Classic, which I think is this one here on the side, if you can see that. So I found this trio and I thought, okay, well, let's dive in. It was a good deal. They're very small. They're only 15 mils each. I got John Varvatos Artisan, Vintage, and the Classic. So let's go ahead and check them out and see if they're any good. So I'll just do this to show you and give you some therapeutic joy of unboxing and hopefully suspending you in hyper-reality while I do it. And the cover comes off. And that is a nice box. It's a nice box. Presentation is key here. Have a look at that. And each bottle has its own little compartment. Let's see if we can pull it out of its compartment. Maybe I cannot do it because of my oafsome fingers. Maybe I'll pop them out like pills. Isn't that apt that we pop these little bottles like pills? And I'll pop each one out. Throw that away. And I don't think they're sprays. I think they're all splashes. Yeah, they are. They're all splashes. So, let's go with vintage. A little bit of vintage over here. And see what this is all about. Vintage. Aromatic. Spicy. Interesting. That's John Varvatos Vintage. That's interesting there. I'm curious about this one, Artisan, because if it is artistic, we might be onto a winner here. And I think I poured a little bit too much on myself there. Unfortunately, it's not a splash. It's gone all over my hand. That's interesting. A little bit different. Quite well done. I can already tell. It's actually quality juice. Both of them so far have been quality. Liking this one better than the vintage. And now for the classic. I'll put that there. Classic. Classic's not bad either. So there you go. Philosophy of unboxings, John Varvatos trio fragrances. I might give it a minute and sort of come back to this because I think I'm not doing John Varvatos' house any justice by just giving them a first impression and a whiff like that. So let's pause for a second, and with the magic of technology, we'll come back and suspend ourselves in hyper reality a little bit more. So now that we've given John Varvatos' trio a little bit of time to mellow out on the skin, what I can tell you about the first one here, which was John Varvatos Vintage, is that initially I got the, and I still get that really spicy, sort of fruity kind of opening, and checking the notes, and I did have to check the notes because I did get a familiarity, and the thing that grasps me the most is this combination of rhubarb and cinnamon that it's got going on. And it's kind of unique in that way. Rhubarb and cinnamon, it's almost like a rhubarb and custard sort of pie that's been made. It's one of my favorites. I really like that kind of dessert. It's really good. And there's a note of quince in there, which I can barely detect, but quince is also one of my favorite aromas to smell. It's not the best thing to eat. It's not a fruit that you eat, but it smells delicious. It smells divine. And that's what I get out of it the most. Maybe later on when it dries down, I'll get more of that tobacco and that suede coming through, but right now it's all about that rhubarb and cinnamon, and it's kind of warm. It's kind of warm feeling, and it is quite vintage in that way. It's almost like a vintage tube compressor or a vintage tube amp. Let's call it that. Like, you know, those vintage Fender tube, like those vintage tube amps that give you the warm harmonics on a guitar, if you know what I'm talking about as a musician. It's kind of like that. You don't get that stuff from digital. You only get that stuff from vintage and analog. That's what this is. It's analog. The next one, which is Artisan. Oh yeah, really, really liking that one. I can't put my finger on it. And I knew like there was something more to the citrus that was coming through from here. And I looked it up, and it's marjoram, and I really like marjoram, and I'm a fan of marjoram ever since I was younger, and I worked in a delicatessen, and I was introduced at a sort of like a mid-teen age to the wonders of herbs and spices and all those deli sort of foods. And so there was this marjoram coated cheese that was one of my favorites. And that sort of aroma and pungency of marjoram has forever been ingrained in me. I've never sort of figured out how to use it in my everyday cooking, but it gives it a sort of herbal sort of quality, spicy herbal, but with the citrus, with that clementine and mandarini sort of tangerine kind of thing. And there's a bit of orange blossom in there as well. Really cool. I really dig this. It's really cool. I don't know why it took me so long to get into Varvatos. I could probably, because here in Australia, I don't think we can find them all that easily, first of all. And second of all, they're not as cheap, perhaps, as they are in other countries. I've heard of a lot of people talk about how cheap they are in other countries, but here it was hard to find, and maybe only on discounters from overseas. So the last one is Varvatos. Just the classic Varvatos here. And the thing that I get out of this one so far is amber and amber and amber and amber. And maybe later on I might get a bit of leather coming through. But right now it's all about the amber, and there's a little bit of tartness from tamarind, and that's it. So nice quality fragrances. I might have to decant these in a spray bottle to get like a better dispersion of scent coming through instead of just the splashes, which sort of just you waste a lot of that juice if you just splash them on. So there you go. There's my take on the 3 John Varvatos, sort of classic ones that have been out for quite some time. Some of these came out in 2000 and mid-2000s. But yeah, and you also got a free lesson in the philosophy of unboxings. So thanks for watching.